I don't even know how to start this because I never thought I'd become the kind of woman who destroys her own life. But that's exactly what I did. I had a husband, Daniel, who loved me more than anything. People would look at him and tell me I was lucky. I would smile and pretend I knew it too. But deep inside, I had started believing a lie, that I deserved more than a quiet, hard-working man who came home tired every evening. Brian worked in my office. He was the opposite of Daniel. Loud, confident, charming. The kind of man who made every woman feel special. He dropped those subtle compliments that hit exactly where your insecurities lived. Your husband must never let you out of his sight. And I'd blush, pretending it was harmless. But harmless turned into flirting. Flirting turned into drinks. Drinks turned into hotel rooms. The first time I cheated, I thought I would be sick. The second time, I convinced myself it was okay. After that, I stopped thinking altogether. I started comparing them. Daniel's calm silence versus Brian's non-stop excitement. Daniel's old boots versus Brian's polished shoes. Daniel's tired eyes versus Brian's spark. I convinced myself that Daniel didn't love me the way Brian did. That Daniel just tolerated me. That I was trapped in a boring life, and Brian was my escape. The day Daniel found out felt like the world cracking open. He didn't yell. He didn't insult me. He didn't even ask why. He just looked at me with this broken disappointment that made it hard for me to breathe. And all he said was, "If you want him, go." That was it. No fight. No begging. Just quiet heartbreak. I wanted him to fight for me. I wanted him to scream or grab my hand and say, "I'll change. Please stay." But he let me walk away. That hurt more than anything. I packed a bag and left with Brian that same night. I remember sitting in Brian's car, watching our house through the window, waiting for Daniel to run outside. He never did. He didn't text, didn't call, just silence. The divorce was 8 months of legal hell. Papers and signatures and dividing furniture I didn't even care about anymore. Brian kept telling me it would be worth it. That soon we'd be married, and it would all be behind us. Meanwhile, Daniel sold most of his things, quit his job, and I swear it felt like he erased himself from the city. People said he moved to Barcelona. I laughed, calling him dramatic. But deep down, him leaving like that made me feel like I was the one left behind. 3 weeks after the divorce became final, Brian proposed. A huge diamond, lots of attention, the kind of moment every girl dreams of. And even though my heart felt weirdly heavy, I smiled and said yes. Because that's what my new life was supposed to look like. The wedding was perfect. At least that's what it looked like on Instagram. A glamorous venue, hundreds of guests, champagne everywhere. Everyone told me I looked stunning. I smiled so much my cheeks hurt. But then my cousin Melissa stood up for her toast. She never liked Brian. I assumed she was just jealous or judgmental. She raised her glass and said something that still echoes in my skull. Marriage is choosing someone every day, even when it's hard. It's honesty when the truth is uncomfortable. It's loyalty when no one else is watching. I hope this marriage has those things because we both know what happens when it doesn't. She stared right at me while saying it. My stomach dropped. My hands started shaking under the table. Brian squeezed my leg, confused. People whispered. I forced a smile, but I felt like everyone could suddenly see through me. It was like she ripped open a secret I thought I had buried. The rest of that night, I was numb. When the music played, I kept wondering who was talking about me. When someone laughed across the room, I was sure it was about me. When Brian hugged me tight for photos, I wondered if he would ever look at me the way Daniel once did. Like I was the only thing that mattered. On our wedding night, while Brian slept drunk next to me, I cried on the bathroom floor with my jeweled dress puddled around me. I told myself it was just nerves, that I missed the familiarity of my old life. But a different voice whispered something much darker. You made a mistake. 2 weeks into marriage, Brian stopped coming home on time. He blamed work. Long hours. Big projects. Late meetings. His phone started staying locked. He turned it face down when notifications popped up. He smelled like perfume that wasn't mine. Suddenly, I was the one pacing the living room, imagining another woman laughing in the passenger seat of his car. The irony wasn't lost on me. Karma didn't wait long. One night, he didn't come home at all. He said he crashed at a coworker's place. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to check his phone, like Daniel once did with mine. But I didn't, because I knew exactly what he was doing. And I knew exactly what it felt like to be on both sides of betrayal. The first time I tried calling Daniel after the wedding, I told myself it was just to check on him. I stared at my phone, wondering if he still had the same number. When I hit call, it rang once and then the line cut. He blocked me. That cut deeper than anything Brian had done. Melissa visited a few days after the wedding. We sat at the kitchen counter. She didn't bother with small talk. She just said, "You left someone who loved you for someone who never will." I wanted to slap her. But the truth hurts hardest when you hear it from someone who isn't trying to hurt you. I tried reaching Daniel, again using a different number. No answer. I texted, "Can we talk?" No response. 5 minutes later, I got a notification. "This user has blocked you." The panic that hit me then. I can't describe it. I ruined Daniel's life, left him bleeding emotionally, and now that mine was falling apart, he didn't even want to hear my voice. The same man who once promised to hold my hand through anything wouldn't even give me a minute. I saw a picture someone posted online. Daniel in Barcelona, smiling with a group of new friends, looking alive in a way he never did with me. It made me furious. How dare he be happy? I threw my phone across the couch and screamed into a pillow until my throat burned. Brian didn't come home that night either. I lay there staring at the ceiling, realizing the simplest truth of my life. Daniel didn't lose me. I lost him, because I never chose him when it mattered. And now he had a whole new life where I didn't exist. I thought love should be fireworks and passion and butterflies. I never understood the quiet kind, the kind Daniel gave me every single day, the kind that doesn't fade when life gets boring. Now, I was living a life I thought I wanted, and I hated every second of it. This story isn't over. Everything got worse, much worse. I still have to tell you about what Melissa told me next, what Brian was really doing, and how Daniel, the man I betrayed, ended up taking revenge in a way I never saw coming. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake staring at the empty side of the bed Brian barely used anymore. The silence in that house was loud. A part of me wished Daniel was there, even if we were arguing. At least his presence used to make me feel safe. With Brian, I only felt empty and terrified that my entire world was about to collapse. Melissa texted me early in the morning. "We need to talk. It's about Brian." When she arrived, she didn't bother to sit or even say hello. She just paced the living room like she was preparing for a speech she didn't want to give. "You deserve the truth," she finally said. I wanted to laugh. Truth was what ruined everything. Truth was the one thing I ran from, and now it was running after me. Melissa took a deep breath. "Brian cheated on you." My heart stopped. I didn't even cry. I just stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Then she showed me her phone. A photo. Brian in a restaurant parking lot late at night kissing another woman. Not some coworker. Not a stranger. A woman named Abigail. Someone he'd been seeing for over a year. While he was seeing me. While I was married. While he was proposing. Even after he said his vows. I still tried to deny it. I heard my own voice trembling as I said, "Maybe someone edited this." "Maybe." "Don't," Melissa snapped. "I confronted him the night of your wedding. That's what my toast was about. I warned him that if he didn't tell you, I would." I wanted to scream that she should have told me sooner. I wanted to hate her. But I knew she was right. I didn't want the truth. Not when it mattered. I waited until Brian came home that night. His shirt was wrinkled, hair messy, smelling like someone else's perfume. Not mine. He threw his keys on the counter. "Why are you awake?" I held up Melissa's phone photo. His face didn't even change. No panic. No regret. Just annoyance. "Oh, her," he scoffed. "This again? Again?" I shouted. My throat burned with rage. "How long?" He shrugged like the answer didn't matter. "Before you. During you. After you." It's not a big deal. You knew who I was when you got with me. And just like that, the world crashed. All those butterflies I had once mistaken for love, they were warning signs. I ignored every single one. You ruined my marriage, I sobbed. He didn't apologize. He didn't even flinch. Your marriage was already over, he said coldly. If it was that perfect, you wouldn't have been with me. His words cut deeper than any truth Melissa had shown me. I grabbed my phone, walked into the other room, and dialed a number I knew by heart even though it was blocked. Daniel. For the first time since I left him, I felt real pain. The call failed instantly. So I tried from another number. It rang. Once.
Twice.
Hello. His voice.
Calm.
Smooth. Stronger than before. I couldn't speak. The lump in my throat was too big. Who is this? He asked. It's me, I whispered. Silence stretched so long that I thought he hung up. Then he breathed out a laugh. Not a happy laugh. A laugh filled with disbelief. You married him, Daniel finally said. Congratulations. Daniel, please listen. I made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes. This one just happens to be entertaining. I cried harder. He cheated on me. Of course he did, Daniel replied. You knew that was coming. The way he said it like karma had clockwork precision. I need someone who actually knows me, I said, desperate. You don't even know yourself, he replied. I begged. Can we just talk? 5 minutes. Please. He sighed. Look, I don't hate you. I honestly don't feel anything about you anymore. And that's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Hearing that hurt more than his silence ever did. You hurt me, I whispered, by just walking away so easily. I walked away because you left me long before you physically did, he said. And revenge isn't always loud. That line hit me like a punch in the gut. Daniel, do you still think about us? No, he said. I think about the life I have now, and how lucky I am that you're not in it. He ended the call, and for the first time, I understood what heartbreak really feels like. I slid to the floor, shaking, holding a phone that suddenly felt like a lifeline I had cut myself. Brian didn't ask why I was crying. He didn't care. He went straight to bed. Alone on the couch, I finally admitted the truth. I didn't love Brian. I never did. I loved attention. I loved excitement. I loved the fantasy. And in the process, I destroyed the only person who ever truly loved me. A few days later, Melissa returned with more information. Worse information. Brian hadn't just cheated on me with one woman. He had a pattern. Affairs everywhere. Promises he never meant. He'd even been engaged once before and walked out a month after that wedding too. I asked Melissa why she was telling me all this. She looked at me with a mixture of pity and anger. Because you're my family. And because I warned you. You didn't listen. So now I'm helping you pick up the pieces. Pieces.
Shards.
Fragments of a life I shattered. I tried calling Daniel again. From another number. He answered. This time, he sounded annoyed. What do you want? I want closure. You already got that, he replied. You left. There's more you don't know. There's nothing left I need to know, he cut in. I'm in Barcelona. I'm living. I don't have space for your chaos anymore. Please. No, his voice hardened. You chose him. Go fix that. And he hung up again. I threw my phone, screaming into the empty room. Later that week, Brian's mistress, Abigail, showed up outside his office and caused a scene so public that videos hit social media. I was tagged by strangers telling me, "Girl, run," and others writing, "Karma has arrived." My parents stopped picking up my calls. Brian's parents never liked me anyway and refused to help with anything. I was alone, cornered, broken. I wanted Daniel to save me. He wouldn't even look back. Melissa tried to comfort me, but she didn't sugarcoat things. You're hurting right now, but Daniel was hurting for months while you were living your fantasy. This is the bill coming due. I didn't want to hear that, but I needed to. One night, Brian didn't come home again. I left the door unlocked and waited. He stumbled in at 3 a.m., smelling like whiskey and someone else's skin. I stood in his way. I want a divorce. He snorted. You can't even handle being married. Pathetic. He shoved past me, collapsing on the bed fully dressed. The rage I felt in that moment was unmatched. But so was the regret. I walked into the bathroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and saw the villain I had become. The villain karma was punishing. The next morning, I called a lawyer. I wanted out. I wanted to breathe again. But most of all, I wanted to undo the one choice that destroyed everything. The lawyer asked if the marriage was based on fraud. I nodded. Brian told me he was loyal.
Told me he loved me.
Told me I was the only one. All lies. I filed for an annulment. But Brian fought back. He quit his job and demanded spousal support. After barely 5 weeks of marriage, he had messages where I talked about starting a business together, as dreams. He twisted them into promises. He said I owed him. Melissa called me that evening, exhausted from trying to help me. This is going to get messy, she warned. Brian isn't going down without dragging you through the mud. As if I wasn't already drowning. That night, I opened my old album of Daniel and me. I stared at photos of us smiling, him kissing my forehead, me holding his hand, and I realized Daniel never needed to punish me. He already took his revenge. He took himself away from me, took his love, took his peace. He made a life where I didn't exist. That was the cruelest, cleanest revenge imaginable. The next morning, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. We should talk. It's about Brian. It was from someone I never expected to hear from. Abigail. And everything that came next tore apart whatever pieces of my life were still left. When I saw the message from Abigail, my heart stopped. I expected insults, threats, maybe just more humiliation. But instead she wrote, I know what he did to you. He did it to me too. We should work together. I stared at that text for a long time. Work together? With the woman Brian cheated on me with? The same way he cheated on Daniel with me? Irony has the worst sense of humor. I agreed to meet her the next day at a coffee shop near the courthouse. She wasn't what I expected. Not angry or messy or spiteful. She was calm, tired, like she'd already been through the emotional breakdown I was currently drowning in. He told me you were crazy, she said, stirring her coffee. That you faked everything. That you trapped him. I laughed, sharp and humorless. He told me you were obsessed and delusional. Of course he did, she sighed. That's how he keeps all of us quiet. All of us. I repeated. She nodded and showed me a folder. Inside were names, screenshots,
Dates.
photos. 3 other women. All overlapping. All lied to. All promised the same future. Brian wasn't a mistake.
He was a pattern.
And now he wants spousal support from you? Abigail shook her head. He's done this before.
Twice.
Both annulments. Both women still paying his debts. I felt sick. So, what do we do? She smiled bitterly. We expose him. Together. I hesitated. Revenge wasn't something I thought I had the right to anymore. Not after everything I did to Daniel. But I couldn't let Brian destroy more lives. Abigail slid a USB drive across the table. Court hearing is in 3 days. Give this to your attorney. It'll help. I thanked her genuinely. The first genuine gratitude I'd shown another woman in months. As I stood to leave, she said one last thing. By the way, Daniel is lucky you're not in his life anymore. I froze. You know him? I whispered. Not personally, she replied. But any man who walks away from a storm and finds peace, that's a man who deserves better. Her words hit me harder than anything Brian ever said. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking of Daniel. Was he asleep peacefully in Barcelona? Did someone else get to hold him now? Did he smile before drifting off the way he used to when I played with his hair? I checked his old social media again. He had a recent photo, laughing on a beach with a woman. She had dark hair, sun-kissed skin, and her head was on his shoulder, like she belonged there. Olivia. Even her name hurt. Daniel looked free. A version of him I never saw when he was with me. That's when I understood the cruel poetry of this whole mess. I left him thinking there was something better. But he found something better, someone better, after leaving me. That was his revenge. Not arguments. Not insults. Not blocking me. Just rebuilding himself somewhere far away. And letting me witness it from the ruins. Court date arrived. My lawyer used Abigail's evidence, photos, timestamps, messages, all proving Brian lied, manipulated, and basically used me like a stepping stone to the next target. Brian tried to act shocked, offended, but the judge didn't buy it. He said Brian's behavior showed a pattern of deception designed for personal gain. He recommended the marriage be annulled with zero support. For a moment, I felt victorious. Then Brian walked past me, leaned close enough that only I could hear, and whispered, "You lost, Daniel. You lost me. You have nothing now." He smirked and walked away. And the worst part? He was right. Annulment meant legally my marriage to Brian never existed. But emotionally, it destroyed me. I went home to a house that wasn't mine and a future that didn't exist. I sat on the floor with the only photo I kept of Daniel and me, taken years ago on our anniversary. I traced his smile with my thumb and cried harder than I thought was possible. The next morning, my phone buzzed. My lawyer forwarded a copy of Daniel's legal statement, the one he provided from Barcelona. He had only written facts. Date of marriage. Date I left. No claims. No blame. But there was a short final note. I hold no resentment. I sincerely hope she finds the honesty and loyalty she was missing. I broke again. Because even in legal documents, Daniel had more dignity and grace than I ever deserved. I wrote him an email from a new address just to thank you. Nothing more. For not destroying me in that courtroom when he easily could have. I didn't expect him to reply. But he did. 2 sentences. You already destroyed yourself. I just stepped out of the way. And then, I hope you learn from this. That wasn't cruelty. That was closure. I reread his message at least 20 times and finally let go of the idea that he would ever come back. Why would he? I wasn't the woman he married anymore. I was the storm. Months passed. I moved into a tiny apartment. Started a new job in a different company. Went to therapy. Stopped wearing the ring Brian gave me. Some days, I'd see a couple laughing over coffee, and my chest would ache. I had that once, and threw it away for a man who couldn't even pretend to care. But slowly, painfully, I rebuilt myself. I learned what loyalty meant, what honesty meant, what choosing someone meant, and most importantly, what consequences meant. One evening, I received one last email. No subject line. No greeting. I heard you're seeing someone new. I'm happy for you. I destroyed something good because I thought I deserved better. I didn't deserve you at all. I won't contact you again. Thank you for showing me what integrity looks like. I stared at that message and realized it wasn't from Daniel. It was from me, months earlier, saved in drafts, never sent. I deleted it. There was nothing left to say. I no longer wanted Daniel back. Not because I didn't love him, but because I finally understood he deserved a life free from my chaos. He chose himself. That was his revenge. And it was perfect. I sometimes picture him in Barcelona, walking along the beach with Olivia, smiling at sunsets, laughing at bad jokes, kissing someone who actually deserves him. And I hope that one day, I can find someone I deserve too. But I will never again believe that excitement is love, or attention is loyalty, or passion is commitment. Because I learned the hardest way. The grass isn't greener. It's ruined where you water someone else's garden, while your own dies behind you.